afternoon. I'm Tyler Danberg. Ohio State hosts Penn State Saturday at noon. Hear the Ryan Day Show up next on The Fan. NFL tonight, Ravens visit the Dolphins at 8:15. In the NHL, Blue Jackets thump the Maple Leafs 6-3 Wednesday. The Jackets, winners in 5 of their last 6, are off until Saturday when they host the Blues at 7. NBA Cavaliers fell at the Celtics 125-105 Wednesday. Cleveland now 3-2 and hosts Toronto to open the NBA Cup on Friday. Baseball, the Nationals are finalizing a deal to make 33-year-old Blake Butera their manager. The former Rays player development director will be baseball's youngest skipper since 1972. The Blue Jays are 1 win away from their 3rd World Series crown after beating the Dodgers 6-1 in Game 5 of the Fall Classic Wednesday. Toronto's Trey Savage set a rookie record with 12 punch-outs. Series heads back to Toronto for Game 6 Friday at 8. Breaking sports news when it happens on The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
From Learfield, this is the Ryan Day Show, presented by Roosters, a fun casual joint, and brought to you statewide by Encova Insurance and by the American Dairy Association Mideast on the Ohio State Sports Network, presented by the Ohio State Wexner Medical Center, the team physicians for Ohio State Athletics. Now, along with head coach Ryan Day and former OSU All-American Jim Lachey, here's the voice of the Buckeyes, Paul Keels.
Thanks for joining us for our show this week as Ohio State comes off their second bye of the season and they prepare to host Penn State at 12 noon Saturday at Ohio Stadium. And certainly, Jim, we hear coaches talk a lot about it, but how a season gets broken up into segments, and in a year with 2 byes, they're heading into that final 5 games of the regular season, and November is where a lot of people try to see who the real contenders are, rather than pretenders.
Yeah, to get into November, the undefeated, they're exactly where they want to be, and after having the 2 byes, they had the bye after a couple home games before they had to go out to Washington, so that worked out good. And then, obviously they had a 4-game stretch where 3 out of 4 of those were on the road and had to take care of that business. And, they passed that test with flying colors, won all 4 of those. And, now they get ready for the final 5, before hopefully a Big Ten championship and a playoff appearance. So they got everything right in front of them. They've set out and accomplished what they wanted to do, and now they just got to continue to stay on that path.
Yep, and the first home game since dating all the way back to, when was it? October 4th. Coach Day, thanks as always. Good to see you. And you talked earlier in the week, or maybe it was late last week, how you were approaching the second bye week and weekend in a similar fashion than you did the first one.
Yeah, changed a few things. We wanted to make sure that we were working on our fundamentals, and that's always important. You hear a lot of coaches talk about that, but at the end, that's what it comes down to. It comes down to tackling, blocking, our pad level, our ability to take care of the football, secure it, the way we use our hands, understanding leverage, like all those things are what we're going to talk about in every single game. So we just want to make sure we're doing that because we know that's going to be a difference maker in the end. But we also did tweak things a little bit. We wore pads on Sunday. I wanted to make sure that we just had our edge. We had some good work the week before during the bye week. Felt like we got guys some good work. Also got some of the younger guys more work than they're used to. So that was good to build some depth. But wanted to keep our edge, and I thought we came out with a really good Tuesday practice. So it was very similar to what we did the first bye week, but just a little tweak.
Yeah, I got a chance to see practice yesterday, and I thought it was one of the more physical practices I've seen for a regular season. Guys were getting after it. It was a long practice. You had 18 periods in that and some extended periods where you got a chance to, work in some plays and things like that. And obviously some of that was by choice.
Yeah, well, if it's not done right, we got to get it right. Yeah, so we're not going to leave till that happens. But I think the attitude of our players is excellent. I think guys understand what needs to be done, and we're out there on the field like we got to get it right. And but at the end of the day, it's everybody's responsibility to make sure that we're doing our job. And boy, I know it sounds cliche, but that's it. And coaches got to be on their game, and the great players and the great coaches sustain throughout the season. And we're just getting started. This to me, this is like the start of the season. Now here we are. We're in November, and here it comes. So good to see us get a couple good practice under our belt the last couple of days.
When you have a bye weekend and a bye week, is that where there's more of an opportunity to self-scout, even though knowing that goes on a pretty regular basis?
Yeah, we always try to do that, but we're able to kind of take a dive into it and make sure not only what are other teams looking at, but are we putting our players in the best position to be successful. And each guy has a different skill set, and then there's things that we're trying to enhance because we know guys have to get better at certain things, and that was another part of the bye week is, give me 3 things that each guy's doing well and then 3 things they need to get better at. How about the units? What are the 3 things the units are doing well, and what are 3 things they need to get better at, for us to make this run that we want to make? And all that feedback's good. It's got to be accurate. The guy's got to take it, and then we got to do something with it.
Plus, you got more games on your opponent, too. Usually when you have that first bye, you got 3 games, and you're still kind of looking back to last year. You don't have to worry about that as much. We got 7, you got a pretty good sample size on what you've seen out of Penn State so far this year and what they have to do. And, let's face it, everybody's surprised of, they almost were, going to beat Oregon in overtime and just went down from there. They lost that game, and they've been on a little bit of a downside, but they're not getting blown out. All those games, it's 13 points. They're hanging in there. They're play away from, some getting it done. So do you spend more time? And usually, from my experience in the NFL, we'd watch the past 4 games and maybe the last year's game against an opponent. But you got the opportunity here to watch all 7. I'm sure you're doing that.
Yeah, watch everything. Sometimes it can be too much, especially when you have an extra week. But yeah, we watch everything and then ultimately, dial it down to what we want to focus on. But you're right about this team. I mean, these guys, just a month ago, you're talking about, in the running for a national championship, and that talent hasn't changed. It's still the same team. A couple, missing pieces here, obviously with the head coach and the quarterback. But other than that, the rest of them are there. And they're good. They're a good team. Certainly, the running backs run hard. The offensive line is as good as they were a month ago. It's just they haven't quite found the rhythm yet, and we know that. So this is going to be a battle. Always is against Penn State. You know that all the games we played against them, at home or on the road, and I'm glad we got them at home. But this is going to be a war, and so we got to do everything we can at noon to make sure we're playing our best football.
And speaking of being at home, it seems like it's been forever, but I know you always put a great value on what being at home means and what a home crowd can do, especially in a game like this.
Well, it's been a while. I mean, you think about we had the bye week, and then we went to Washington, had the night game against Minnesota, at Illinois, at Wisconsin bye week. So, we had one game on October 4th. Other than that, the other was September 13th. So it's been a while, since we had games here, and so it's great to get back home. I feel like the atmosphere in Ohio Stadium this year has been excellent. I think the crowd's been loud. They've been into it. They've been in there early. They've stayed late, and they've made it hard for the opposing teams. And certainly, we need everybody, right? We need everybody who's in the building, who's part of the program. We need everybody who's going to be at the game on Saturday. We need everybody who's not at the game. That's just how it goes, with Ohio State football. And a big part of it's going to be the atmosphere on Saturday and making it really, really loud. So our guys feed off the crowd, and the crowd feeds off the players. It's been like that this year, and it needs to be now at its best here because, down the home stretch, we're going to need the crowd. And this is one that we've all known has been a big game all across the board. Now, it's not going to change our preparation, but we know who the opponent is. And so, we really are asking the crowd to get in there early, be loud, make it hard for them to communicate. We've talked about being on the road, what that means for the offensive line, and in particular, the communication from the quarterback to the offensive players, all a major deal. So you're talking about false starts. You're talking about, giving an advantage to the defensive line, like major impact on the game. Last time Penn State was here, we challenged the crowd to say, let's get them off the clap, which means, just so everybody understands, like when you clap your hands, everybody in unison comes off the ball because the offensive line can hear the clap from the quarterback. When they can't hear that, then what happens is now they have to use some sort of indicator, and that's a whole different deal when it's on silent, whole different set of timing. So the louder we can be when they have the ball, the better for the Buckeyes.
If you have a question for Coach Day, you can submit it to our Union Home Mortgage inbox at ohiostatebuckeyes.com and click on Ryan Day Show inbox. Union Home Mortgage, the official home lending sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. Learn about their 1% down payment program at uhm.com. An equal housing lender, NMLS number 2229. Saturday, Ohio State will host Penn State. We'll be on the air with our AEP Energy Buckeye pregame show beginning at 10:30 a.m. More of today's show presented by Roosters coming up on the Ohio State Sports Network from Learfield.
Buckeye fans, choose chill. Coors Light is cold lagered, cold filtered, and cold packaged for a smoother finish. It's got that crisp, refreshing taste that makes those moments when you choose to rise above the noise and choose chill even better. Coors Light is a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics, so crack one open and take a sip. Coors Light, choose chill. Celebrate responsibly. 2025 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado, beer.
Hey, Ohio State fans, are you looking to score big with your home equity? Union Home Mortgage will help you unlock the value of your home and fund the promises you've made to yourself and your family. If you need to pay off debt, have home improvements, or whatever your family needs are, visit UHM.com and score financial freedom with Union Home Mortgage, the official home lending sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. Union Home Mortgage Corp is an equal housing opportunity lender and MLS number 2229.
There's one medical team in Central Ohio skilled enough to care for your favorite Ohio State team, and Buckeyes everywhere. The Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center is your choice for the most highly specialized orthopedic and sports medicine care. Our surgeons, physicians, and physical therapists have access to the most advanced treatments and innovative recovery approaches to get you back in your game. Because on or off the field, our team is your team. The choice for your orthopedic care is clear.
Buckeye fans, this is for you. Level up with the brand new AAA Buckeyes MVP membership. You'll receive all the benefits of AAA, such as 24/7 roadside assistance, plus chances to win tickets to Ohio State sporting events, access to exclusive MVP experiences, along with 10% off select gear at the Ohio State team shop. Already a AAA member? Add the Buckeyes MVP membership for free. Head to AAA.com/Buckeyes to upgrade or join the squad and put your fandom in drive.
At Kroger, you never compromise. You get high quality and low prices. Like you never compromise your meal with our spring salad mix, guaranteed fresh. And you never compromise your budget with low prices in every aisle. And you never compromise your appetite with our golden brown bread that's baked fresh in store. And you never compromise your wallet with our low prices. Kroger shoppers never compromise. Kroger. Fresh for everyone.
Hey, Buckeye fans. As the official wing sponsor of Ohio State Athletics, Roosters is kicking off an incredible giveaway you won't want to miss. This football season, we're giving away 12 ultimate Buckeye experiences. 3 drawings, 12 winners with prizes including tickets, sideline passes, and 3 trips to a Buckeye first-round postseason game. Go to roosterswings.com to register and see all the details. 3 drawings, 12 amazing prizes. Register today and every day. Roosters, a fun, casual joint.
Hear every Buckeye game every year. The Fan. This is the Ohio State Sports Network, presented by the Ohio State Wexner Medical Center, the team physicians for Ohio State Athletics.
Welcome back to our show with Coach Ryan Day as Ohio State prepares to host Penn State on Saturday. Time for our Elk and Oak 2 Deep Report, presented by the injury lawyers at Elk and Oak, proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. You were talking about some of your work, Coach, this week, or last week, really, going into this week with getting reps for guys that maybe haven't necessarily played, a lot of guys that need to step up their development. Can you see some signs in guys, not naming individuals, but some guys that look like the light's kind of going on a little more?
Yeah, some days yes, some days no. It's part of the process. It's not a linear thing. You know, you think you kind of come in here and it's just going to kind of every day you're going to improve, and that doesn't typically work that way. You know, some days you have a bad day, some days you have a good day, and I think when you're young, it kind of looks like a stock market that's, you know, kind of wild, and then as time goes on, it kind of steadies out, and you kind of feel it like that. But that's part of the process. That's part of this game, and you know, when you make the transition to college, you know, there's a lot of growth that has to happen, and the only way to grow is to be uncomfortable. And when you're in the building, you're going to be uncomfortable every day. And, but that's why we spend so much time with our players and making sure that the relationships are built on trust. You know, that they understand when they walk in the building, they're here for a reason, and that they have a lot of people in the building that are going to care for them. But at the same time, we're going to push them to a lot of different levels because they're going to feel uncomfortable. And so that balance is critical, I think, for the culture of the team.
Running back is a position where we've seen a lot of depth develop, you know, right in front of our eyes. You know, you started the season with, you know, CJ and James Peoples, and then we saw some Bo Jackson at Grambling, and, you know, now we're seeing Isaiah West. All 4 of those guys have the capability of going out there and make plays. How do you use all 4 of those guys?
Well, that's the question. And I think that when you look at these guys, you know, CJ has the most experience, not here, but has the most experience. But then when you look at Bo, you look at James, and you look at Isaiah, they haven't played a bunch of football. And I think, you know, people ask me about quarterback play. The game of football, you don't play the game very often. So what I mean by that is if you're a receiver, you're playing 7-on-7s all summer. You're doing, you know, a bunch of that stuff. You're catching the ball. Now, it's different with pads on. You know, you got to get hit, okay? But you're playing the game on the perimeter. You know, there's a lot of positions out there that you can sort of, you know, work on those things even if you're not playing a game. Running back is really not that way, because when are you getting tackled? So every time they're on the field, they're gaining experience, they're getting better. I think Travion Henderson's a great example of somebody that, as his time here went on, you saw him see things better. You saw him now anticipating as opposed to reacting. You see his game and continue to improve. We always saw the talent. I think these guys all have talent, and they're learning quickly, which is a great thing. But the more they're on the field, the more they're practicing, the more they're playing, the more they're getting handoffs, the better they're going to be. So Coach Locke's doing a great job with them. We have good depth there. We just got to keep getting them handoffs so that they can continue to get better, because it's going to be a huge part of where we go here down the stretch.
You talk about yards after contact, and basically that's, you got to be your own blocker, right? You got to make guys miss, because you can't block up everybody. Sometimes there's going to be a guy in the hole. Who has shown that potential to be the best at yards after contact?
They've all shown it. Now we need to be more consistent with it. And we say the first 4 yards are for the team. And after that, now you got to go trust your God-given ability. And it's Coach Locke's job to make sure he fills their toolbox with what they need. Dropping a shoulder, delivering a forearm, using a stiff arm, shaking, using a spin, sticking a foot in the ground, all these different things that come into play. Now they have to recognize when to use those tools. But they also have to understand how they fit into the run scheme. Because a gap scheme is different than a zone scheme. A stretch play is different than a perimeter game, perimeter play where you're pitching the ball, whatever those things are. So we have to understand how we fit into it, because there's a timing and a phase and everything that comes with the run game. So part of it is the reads, and that's part of the vision. But then it's also, now once you get to the second level, you got to go make guys miss. And another part of that is the receivers doing their part to make sure they're blocking downfield to create explosives.
We saw last year with the two tailbacks, with four of them kind of the main mix right now. Can sharing the workload help these guys physically with the anticipation of a long season?
Well, I think when you have a group of younger guys, it's a big ask to play as long of a season as we expect to play. So we know how long this is. And again, like high school in Ohio, high school regular season just got done last week. We're just starting our season. That's the way we're looking at it. So if you look at guys who, Bo Jackson, who played here in Ohio, now certainly there's playoffs going on. So that some of these guys will play a little bit longer, but most across the country, most high school seasons aren't as long as this, and certainly they don't practice like we practice. So as they make the transition, it is good to be able to spread the carries around, spread the work around, so that they can continue to build as the season goes on.
Playing Penn State, and everybody kind of looks like, well, they got two backs that both have over 3,000 yards, both have scored 30-plus touchdowns for their career. They're going to come in here and try to run the football, shorten the game, keep Ohio State's high-powered offense off the field. Knowing that, is this a game where a guy like Peyton Pierce maybe have to play a little bit more three linebacker sets if they decide to go, two tight ends and try to load up the box?
I think it depends on the attack in terms of personnel, but we know no matter what personnel they put on the field, they're going to try to run the football. I mean, the coach went out and said it in the press conference. So we got to be prepared for that. We got to stop the run, and that comes down to fundamentals. It comes down to feeding blocks. Now, are they in wide open sets? Are they in big groupings? Then we have to make sure we match that and recognize that and be able to put the right guys in the game to fit what we're trying to deal with. But usually it comes down to personnel, but we know they're going to look to run the ball and then, take shots down the field, spread the ball around. And so, the recipe hasn't changed, but we know that, this opponent is going to look to do that. Like you said, I think it's pretty clear that that's what the plan's going to be. And we also have to be ready for the unexpected. They've had 2 weeks to prepare and, had an opportunity to put some things together to create explosives. So our guys are aware of that and working towards that in practice to make sure they're prepared.
We'll go to our Union Home Mortgage inbox list of questions. Tom in Toledo asking, are there certain keys for an offensive line getting to the second level in the run game?
Yeah, I think it depends on the scheme, first off. I think when you're talking about a zone scheme, first off, if you're talking about a 3-down front or a 4-down front, it all comes into play. Sometimes there's a 5-down front. So the more guys that are on the line of scrimmage, either with a blitz or five guys on the line of scrimmage, you're less likely to get to the second level. Now, if you have 4-down linemen, where they're playing straight, or 3-down linemen, you're more inclined to get guys up to the second level. And a part of that is making sure that our footwork is clean and who's taking the first level defender and then how we climb to the second level. And understanding the leverage of the block and how that works. All those things come into play. A big part of it is communication, but a big part of it as well is the technique of that. So a lot of things come into play when it comes to the second level. But we know when we can create displacement, especially vertical displacement, that's when it gives the running backs the best chance to get downhill.
Ideally, you want to take that first level to the second level, because that's going to make those linebackers have to go over the top or, take chances underneath. So you got to get movement at that line of scrimmage if you want to get to that second level.
That's it. Yeah, movement is very important, as you know, and in today's day and age, with all the movement that goes on sideways, you have to be able to handle the movement, and then, like you said, get movement vertical. So all those things are part of the conversation.
You've got basically 5 and 6 offensive linemen that are kind of all playing in concert right now. How does that consistency help?
These guys have worked together now for a while. Carson, Luke, Austin, Tegra, Josh, Phil now has, put together a half a season. So the continuity there of all communicating it is important. We know that's going to be the case this week. We all have to get everybody on the same page and where they're going. So, that's probably one of the more, underrated things, or things that people don't talk about is, there's 5 offensive linemen in the game at once. All the other positions, there's, 1, 2, or maybe 3 at wide receiver, whatever it is. And all 5 of those guys have to work together, with the tight ends, with the running backs. And when all it takes is just a little bit to be off, one guy, doesn't do his job, or maybe he's a little bit late, or whatever those things are, then it can be out of whack. And so that's where all the work is, and that's why it's so important. That's why we say, like, everything goes through the offensive line. And one thing about our guys is they're intelligent. They can identify what's going on. They get to the sideline, and they're talking about what the adjustments are even before we get to the biped, because they know what's happened. And that's a good sign. So that's got to matter down the stretch here.
Be sure to check out the Buckeye Game Day Concert Series presented by the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer before every home game this season outside of St. John Arena in Buckeye Fan Fest. Each week features a different artist on stage 2 hours before kickoff. Get on board and book your cruise today. Visit BuckeyeCruise.com. Go Bucks and beat cancer. We'll have more of today's show presented by Roosters when we continue on the Ohio State Sports Network from Learfield.
Hi, this is Paul Keels. This Buckeye season, don't let a broken windshield ruin your game plan. Safelite Auto Glass makes it easy to get your windshield fixed with their mobile glass shops all over Central Ohio. They can come to you anywhere, giving Buckeye fans more time for game time. OH? Man, I love that. Schedule at safelite.com. Safelite Auto Glass is a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Safelite Repair, Safelite Replace.
Hi, I'm Archie Griffin, 2-time Heisman Trophy winner. The right coverage can be a game changer, both on and off the field. That's why Encova Insurance and their local independent agents are prepared for what's next and protect what matters most to you. Whether that's your home, car, business, or family, Encova's got your back with a policy that fits you perfectly. With local independent agents in your neighborhood and innovative insurance products that can be tailored to fit your unique needs, Encova's playbook is an easy win for your peace of mind. You can trust their team of agents to develop a strategy that's just right for you. And it's not just X's and O's. Your expert agent will guide you and provide insurance solutions so you can confidently manage your risk and count on a financially secure future. For auto, home, and business insurance, you want Encova on your team. Visit Encova.com today to find an agent near you. Encova is a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. Go Bucks!
AEP Energy wants to know if you're ready to say goodbye to higher rates and hello to savings. Get your energy costs under control by locking in a fixed rate for your electricity supply. You'll lower your bills and get price protection from rising rates. Take control and lock in a low fixed rate. Visit aepenergy.com/OSU to get started. AEP Energy, the official electricity and natural gas sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. AEP Energy is a competitive retail electrical and natural gas service provider and affiliate of Ohio Power Company, AEP Ohio. AEP Energy is not soliciting on behalf of and is not an agent of AEP Ohio.
Everyone loves Donato's legendary thin crust, but sometimes you want a little more to grab. That's where Donato's hand-tossed pizza comes in. Golden, delicious, and perfect for dipping in that ranch, marinara, or garlic butter sauce. For a limited time, get a large one-topping hand-tossed pizza plus dipping sauce for just $9.99. Order online using promo code MORE. Donato's. Gotta love more.
When you're here, you understand what it means to be a Buckeye. And at Elk & Elk, we're proud to wear scarlet and gray every Saturday. Every client, every day, means if you're ever injured, we're proud to stand with you in court. And when you're here at the shoe, we're proud to stand with you and cheer on the Buckeyes.
Whether we're here at the big game or in court, we are committed to you.
Elk & Elk, proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Always and forever your home of the Buckeyes. Home of the Buckeyes. The Fan. This is the Ohio State Sports Network. Presented by the Ohio State Wexner Medical Center. The team physicians for Ohio State Athletics.
Buckeye fans, power up and carbon down with AEP Energy and Eco Advantage, their 100% renewable energy plan for your home or business. Visit aepenergy.com/OSU to get started. AEP Energy, the official electricity and natural gas sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. And welcome back to our show this week as Ohio State prepares to host Penn State. Time for our Inside Access with Kroger. Buckeye Nation, let's help tackle hunger by donating 2 million meals this season. You can help end hunger by rounding up during your next trip to Kroger or at Ohio Stadium of the Schottenstein Center concession stands. Come on, Buckeyes, let's tackle hunger. Coach, let's talk about how your tackling defense has played at such a high level. As you've looked back and observed what's gone on in the season to this point, what are some of the biggest things that jump out to you?
I think that probably just the confidence that we're playing with right now. It starts right up the middle, right in the middle of the defense. I think, the way Kaden, is playing up the middle, Sonny, Arvell, and then Caleb. I think then from there it goes from there, and then you look at IGB and Caden Curry and Arvell, and as it goes from there, guys are they just gain confidence from the inside out, because I think the communication's been good. I think when you look at Sonny and you look at Caleb, and they're almost like coaches, the way that they understand the game, and I think that again there's a lot of chemistry that you can recognize with the staff that's excellent right now. And so all those things matter, but it's got to continue to be that way. We got to continue to build, and we got to prove it every single week. And I say it all the time, like every week you have an opportunity to prove somebody right and prove somebody wrong, and you have to have that mentality. And so I think the mindset's been good, but again, season's just getting going.
I think Kaden last year, that was his coming out party against Penn State in that goal line situation where he got a big push in the center, and we held him for 4 downs, and then offense took the ball and killed the clock. You saw him start to step up and make some plays. Saw that maybe a little bit out of Edric Houston against Wisconsin, starting to get some penetration in there, starting to get some movement, starting to play physical. You see that out of Devin Sanchez, the last couple games. The more he plays, Aaron Scott coming up there with a big hit there on 4th down to get the stop and to preserve the shutout. Some of those young guys, maybe it just takes a play or two, and then they see themselves and they get that confidence. I think you saw that out of those 3 guys.
Confidence is a big thing. Yeah. We're all so much, capable of so much more than we even give ourselves credit for. And I think you're seeing those guys, make plays and see. I think a big part of building confidence, real confidence, is doing it in practice during the week. Though I say that to our guys all the time. The reward for all the hard work that you put in, the preparation, the film work, and the inside drills and everything, is to go in on Saturday, look somebody in the eye with real confidence, like I got you. I think there's also fake confidence, or like I'm getting myself up for the game right before the game, and I'm gonna, bang my head against a locker. Okay, what'd you do all week? Are you really prepared? Because at some point you got to put the ball down and play football. So I think that the guys are seeing the work that they're putting in during the week show up on the film, because that's their test. I say to people all the time, like we're all we are is teachers, and we're preparing our students for the game on Saturday, and we get a grade. Yeah, the only problem is if the guys don't pass the test, we got more problems than most. But that's it. And the game is a feedback on your preparation as a coach and as a player. And I think as they start to see the work that they're putting in show up on the field, it just builds more confidence, like you're saying.
You mentioned Sonny Styles. Last game, he gets his first ever interception here at Ohio State, but it's off a tip pass. And certainly, while defensive players have got a lot going on in front of them, getting hands up in the air has to be a big part of the effort.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, disrupting the pass. How do you do that? You get a pass rush, or you disrupt the routes down the field. And we've had tip balls so far this year that didn't turn into turnovers, but we kept telling guys the more deflections, the more times you get hands on a ball, the more opportunities we have to create turnovers and disrupting it. So when we talk about ball disruption, we talk a lot about the CPR, about getting the ball out of the ball carrier's hands, but a big part of it is interceptions. And tip balls, can really turn into a lot of plays. And so anytime that ball is deflected or in the air, we got to get after it.
And we've seen in the past opposing quarterbacks and opposing offensive coordinators, when they go against Ohio State's defensive front, they want to get rid of the ball quick, right? They're not going to hold it for 3 or 4 seconds. It's going to be 1, 2, take a read, a short route, get the ball out of there. what do you tell your defensive lineman at that point? Because, there's the old State technique where you go in, you hit the offensive lineman, and you get your hands up in the air, just try to tip a pass, try to, be a pass defender somehow if you can't be a pass sacker.
Yeah, no, that's a big part of a lot of people's game plans when they come in, as you've known, you've seen it for years. And so we try to talk to our guys about a couple of things in terms of, how are teams trying to attack us? Is it an RPO game where there's a run and they're trying to get the ball out, which sometimes can neutralize the defensive line's pass rush? Or, like you said, when we are throwing the ball, or when they're throwing the ball, is it a quick game? And, you can identify a lot of things with that, and a big part of it is, like, where are your eyes? What are you looking at? Are you looking at the guy across from you? Are you looking at the quarterback? You look at I think that's a good question for a lot of our, what are you looking at? Where are your eyes? Because when you can recognize the drop of the quarterback, when you can recognize the drop of the offensive line, is it an aggressive set? Is it a soft set? All these different things. Then you can quickly figure out what the offense is trying to do. And when he's trying to get the ball out of his hands, when you can match the hands and create any of these types of disruptive plays, then certainly it's an advantage. But yeah, to your point, when the ball's coming out quickly, if we can get our hands in the air and create a problem right there, that's advantage to us.
Is that where watching film, maybe picking up tells, can help?
Yeah, everything comes back to watching film, and we try to train our guys on how do you watch film, because I think sometimes when you watch film, it's like just watching a Monday Night Football game. What are you really looking at? And I try to share with the guys, and it's the same way with coaches, is when you're watching film, sometimes you can watch film and you're just like, all right, I don't know if I'm getting anywhere, but if you keep watching it, you keep watching it, and you keep watching it, eventually it makes sense, and eventually you get there and you just start to figure it out. And maybe early in the week, maybe later in the week, but you have to watch film. And the question is how many hours of film you watch in a week, and that's up to each player and each coach. And there's no rule on watching too many hours of film. That's on you. And so, I think that's part of our discipline on a week-to-week basis. What you're watching 3 hours, you're watching 5 hours, you're watching 30 hours, and the most prepared team usually wins the game. So that's a big challenge to our players, and identifying what the routine is and making sure they're prepared, because film is a huge part of that.
No, I think you're so right. Teaching guys how to watch film, because some guys you're watching film with oh, look at that guy's shoes, or what are you looking at his shoes for? Look at his technique. Where his hand is. What foot does he have back? You're not even looking at what you need to look at, and and the amount of film that you have to watch. In the NFL, you try to watch all 4 of the past games before you got out to Wednesday practice, because you want to have that memory. Okay, this is what this guy's going to do. And then third downs, and then first downs, and then short yardage, goal line, and then nickel, all those type of things. You want to make sure you understand their package. So when a guy gets in a certain stance, 90% of the time I knew where his first step was going to be. That's what you can take away his first step. But if you don't trust your film study, and then the thing is, when it happens in a game, he gets there, then you got to believe that, hey, all this film paid off. This is going to work, and trust that film study.
And that's where the confidence comes in if you've done the preparation. And then it comes down to the scout team to replicate that look. To your point, but yeah, I think you bring up a good point. What is your routine for watching film? Because once the meetings happen, we're installing and doing those things. You have to watch that on your own, and then we have practice film that we need to watch on our own. So there's a lot that goes with it that I'm sure most people don't realize. But when you are watching film, there's a lot to go through. The first thing is the cut-ups of the guy you're going against. His pass rush, his run technique, and vice versa if it's a receiver or DB. And then you have first down defense, and then you have nickel and base, then you have third down, then you have red zone, goal line, short yardage, 2 minute. All these things come into play, and it's a lot. And so you don't just show up and play. It doesn't work that way. There's a lot that goes with it, man. And when you're anticipating as opposed to reacting, that's when you're at your best.
As the official wing sponsor of your Ohio State Buckeyes, Roosters has big news. The newly renovated Olentangy River Road location is now open and ready to welcome everyone back. Stop in and enjoy their award-winning wings and all your favorite menu items. Roosters, a fun, casual joint, and the sponsor of our weekly show. We'll continue with more of it in just a moment on the Ohio State Sports Network from Learfield.
If you are a fighter, Modelo is your reward. So listen close. You put up with a lot, but you always hold it down for your people. You are strong. You are fearless. You are the baddest on the block. You are an elbow grease factory, a force of nature. You are not to be reckoned with. You are a ride or die, a powerhouse of productivity. You are a fighter, and Modelo is your reward. You've earned every last drop of this rich golden lager, so raise it up high. Modelo, the mark of a fighter. Drink responsibly. Beer imported by Crown Imports, Chicago, Illinois.
Go behind the scenes of one of the most recognizable landmarks in all of college athletics with a tour of Ohio Stadium presented by Experience Columbus. A seasoned redcoat will be your guide as you make your way through walls of the stadium, into the press box, and onto the field. Upgrade to the VIP package and get special access to the band center and the Ohio State home locker room. From corporate outings and school groups to single-person tours and small families, Ohio Stadium Tours offer a variety of options and pricing. For more information, visit ohiostatebuckeyes.com and book your tour. Ohio Stadium Tours, presented by Experience Columbus.
When it comes to your cancer diagnosis, the choice for your care is clear.
And when you choose the James at Ohio State,
you're opting for care from a highly specialized team dedicated to treating one type of cancer, yours.
A team that studies the unique makeup of your disease to develop a personalized treatment plan.
You're choosing our region's only comprehensive cancer center designated by the National Cancer Institute.
For your cancer care, the choice is clear. The James at Ohio State.
Hey there, Buckeye fans. Kroger is teaming up with the Ohio State Buckeyes to tackle hunger. Kroger is challenging Buckeye Nation to help donate 1 million meals by Thanksgiving to neighbors in need. Together, we can help create communities free of hunger. All you have to do is round up at checkout now through November 23rd. Every dollar helps provide 10 meals. Visit your local Kroger for more details, and let's work together to end hunger.
The 2026 Buckeye Cruise for Cancer sets sail on the Silver Sea Silver Ray. It's an intimate ship with an even better experience. It's all-inclusive of beverages, shore excursions, taxes, and gratuities. Sail to bucket list ports like the Grand Turk, St. Martin, and St. Thomas, with Buckeye greats including Ryan Day, Bobby Carpenter, A.J. Hawk, the Boren Brothers, Ezekiel Elliott, Ryan Shazier, and more. Sailing from Fort Lauderdale, February 17th through the 24th. Call 614-792-6204 to book today.
James Peoples here, running back for the Ohio State Buckeyes. You have to check out the brand new AAA Buckeyes MVP membership. Get all the benefits of AAA, such as 24/7 roadside assistance, plus chances to win tickets to Buckeye sporting events, access to exclusive MVP experiences, along with 10% off select gear at the Ohio State Team Shop. Already a AAA member? Add the Buckeyes MVP membership for free. Head to AAA.com/Buckeyes to upgrade or join the squad and put your fandom in drive.
The Fan, Ohio sports destination. This is the Ohio State Sports Network, presented by the Ohio State Wexner Medical Center, the team physicians for Ohio State athletics.
Join Coach Ryan Day and experts from across Buckeye Nation to preview every matchup and break down each week's game. Game Time with Ryan Day, presented by Huntington Bank, airs Saturday mornings at 9 on 10 TV in Columbus and statewide on OhioStateBuckeyes.com. And welcome back to our show this week from our Union Home Mortgage inbox questions. Noah in Beaver Creek asking about Julian Sand. Where has he improved in the ways that you see from week to week until now?
I think anybody watching can just see that he's again another guy whose confidence has grown. He's seeing things quickly. He's getting the ball out of his hand fast. You've seen him make some plays, with his feet when maybe it's off schedule. You got a chance to see him read an end last week and pull it and make 4 or 5 yards, which is good. He has the ability to do that. He has good quickness there. But the number one thing is making good decisions, take care of the football, and we need him to do that here this weekend.
We saw him moving out of the pocket a little bit there against Wisconsin. I remember rolling out to the right there, and you guys kind of slid the line a little bit to the right. You had Jeremiah, or you had Carnell on the crossing route, or not on a little out route, and then you had Jeremiah underneath that, and you basically got to read that corner, what he's going to do, who's he going to attack, and he was able to step up. When the corner stepped up, he threw it behind him to Carnell, but just kind of moving the launch point helps that offensive line too.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to change it. We have on our call sheets each week different things, and one of them is movement to do that exactly right. Gives we always say, like, you need to have a handful of plays where the quarterback can take a deep breath and soak in the 2 tackles. And you got to have those in the game because when you're in a game where they're working every single play, it can wear them out. And to me, those are the 2 most important guys on the field, are the tackles and the quarterback when it comes to those types of things. And so moving the pocket, sprint outs, nakeds, boots, things like that can certainly take a little pressure off them. And they still got to do their job, but usually they get a plus, and so we try to mix those in.
Was his movement something that led to the touchdown throw to Brandon Innes? And also just to ask about the play Brandon made in the corner of the end zone there.
Yeah, so that was, in the red area, a play that didn't really play out the way we thought it might, But that's, like we say all the time, when we say make the routine plays routinely, when it's drawn up the way we see it, we just got to make those routine plays. But when it isn't, that's the quarterback's job to manage it and make us all right. And so down in the red area in particular, we talk about the second part of the route. There's the first part of the route, the way we design it. But if that doesn't go the way we thought it would, now we're into the second part of the route, and that's what that was. And the guys up front were able to hold on long enough to create Julian an escape hatch. He did that. He kept his eyes downfield, and then in that moment, the receivers have to work with him. It's a scramble drill, and I thought the throw and catch was pretty high end, and so that was good. But that's something we work a lot at practice, and then quarterback has to make good decisions in those moments where. Is it there? If it is, great. If not, I got to throw this thing away and live to see another day.
You talk special teams. You saw the fake punt. I thought it was a high snap that the punter read it and saw some open ground. He went and run and, made a great run, got 20 yards, got the first down. You look at Penn State, they blocked 3 punts and a field goal. I mean, they're active up front, putting pressure. So that's something that, every week special teams it's a big play for a lot of yardage. So you have to make sure that you're so glued in on that. Every personnel and everybody on that, every person on that is ready to go.
Yeah, I was doing good until you just brought up the fake punt. Now
I saw you on the sidelines.
My blood pressure is now all of a sudden skyrocketed again. That cannot happen. And so that was embarrassing. Yeah, that can't happen again. So, yeah, I just, when I think about those moments, you just get yourself all wired again, like you are on the sideline. But anyways, we look at everything. We make sure that, special team. First off, great teams cover. That's the first thing. And we've talked about that a lot, but it needs to be re-emphasized in the bye week. Great teams cover. So that's kickoff, and that's punt. That's on the punt team. We got to get down the field and cover. And so when we're talking about being the hardest playing team in the country, that's a big part of it. So we need to continue to, not that we haven't done that, but we need to step it up here. I'm seeing, across the country, and maybe it was just watching some of the games across college football this past Saturday when I had a little bit of time, and you're seeing punts and kicks being returned for touchdowns, so that was a huge rebite for us. And then also, in the other areas, making sure that we're clean, but they come really hard on field goal block. You saw what happened in the Iowa game. So we have to get our pads down. We had a bunch of live ones yesterday, so we know where they're coming. They're coming, hard, and so we got to get our pads down, and we got to get the kick up in the air, and that's a huge emphasis this week.
Gary from Cincinnati with a Union Home Mortgage inbox question, and I think we kind of know what the answer to this will be. Do you discuss with your team upsets that happen, or you just keep focused on your own team and what they have to do?
We're mostly focused on us, but we're all fans of college football. I do like that about this team. They know what's going on. Like they're competitive, they're edgy, they're like gym rats, and like they know what's going on. So I love on Friday nights when there's a big game on, and I'm going to do the bed check, and they're all watching the games, and they know what's going on. And coach, did you see this? Like that's a good feeling as a coach, as opposed to walking into somebody's room and they're watching The Office or something like that. You know what I mean? So these guys watch the games. They know what's going on, and my point, to them was like some teams are getting better each week. We have to be one of those teams because you're seeing it across college football. And it's interesting because I think it's a reflection of the change in the way that the landscape. Everyone talks about the change in the landscape of college football, but now you're seeing it with some teams in the top 15 that maybe haven't been historically. And so that's all a reflection of what's going on, with NIL, with the transfer portal, with all these different things, conference realignment. So, it's just interesting to see how that's all shaken out. But yeah, our guys are aware of that. They know what's at stake. They know that this game right here isn't what's at stake, an opportunity to get to Indianapolis, right? I mean, we know that's on the line this week, and so. But at the end of the day, it's about us. But it's good, especially on a bye week, to take a step back and look at the landscape to figure out where everything is going, where we are, what we need to get done, and then get back to work.
Your former mentor, Urban Meyer's having a Hall of Fame salute here. He's going to be the bell ringer before the game. What was the biggest lessons that you've learned from Coach Meyer?
Well, first off, it's great to see him recognized, and he's a huge influence on my life and so many people here, and one of the best coaches in the history of college football. And I'm sure he'll be ringing that bell real loud on Saturday. But it's when you think back on just coming up in the profession and some of the things that happened to you, one of the best things that happened to me was being around him and just seeing how he does things. And there's so many different areas, but just how he pushed everybody in the building every day to be great. And there was no time for anything other than what needs to get addressed in that moment. And he just it was all about getting better on a daily basis, and then pushing guys to the highest level and then maximizing them. And there were so many lessons you learn about the game of football, about how you recruit, about how you motivate, and so much in debt for what he's done for me, and obviously everyone here at Ohio State for what he did for the program.
Well, Coach, thanks as always. We appreciate your time, and all the best come Saturday.
All right, guys, take care.
That's Ohio State head coach Ryan Day. Union Home Mortgages, the official home lending sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. Learn about their 1% down payment program at UHM.com, and equal housing lender, NMLS number 2229. Coming up, we'll hear from defensive tackle Kaden McDonald when we continue with our weekly show, presented by Roosters on the Ohio State Sports Network from Learfield.
Experience Buckeye Game Day like never before. Welcome to the 1922 Club, the most exclusive space inside Ohio Stadium, where luxury meets tradition in the heart of Buckeye Nation. Enjoy upscale food and beverages and a game day atmosphere like no other. Create lasting memories with friends and mingling with other Buckeye fans, and celebrate every OHIO in ultimate comfort. Become a member of the 1922 Club today. Memberships are limited. Visit OhioStateBuckeyes.com.
Hi, I'm Archie Griffin, two-time Heisman Trophy winner. The right coverage can be a game changer, both on and off the field. That's why Encova Insurance and their local independent agents are prepared for what's next and protect what matters most to you. Whether that's your home, car, business, or family, Encova's got your back with a policy that fits you perfectly. With local independent agents in your neighborhood and innovative insurance products that can be tailored to fit your unique needs, Encova's playbook is an easy win for your peace of mind. You can trust their team of agents to develop a strategy that's just right for you. And it's not just X's and O's. Your expert agent will guide you and provide insurance solutions so you can confidently manage your risk and count on a financially secure future. For auto, home, and business insurance, you want Encova on your team. Visit Encova.com today to find an agent near you. Encova is a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. Go Bucks!
There's one medical team in Central Ohio skilled enough to care for your favorite Ohio State team, and Buckeyes everywhere. The Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center is your choice for the most highly specialized orthopedic and sports medicine care. Our surgeons, physicians, and physical therapists have access to the most advanced treatments and innovative recovery approaches to get you back in your game. Because on or off the field, our team is your team. The choice for your orthopedic care is clear.
Go behind the scenes of one of the most recognizable landmarks in all of college athletics with a tour of Ohio Stadium, presented by Experience Columbus. A seasoned redcoat will be your guide as you make your way through walls of the stadium, into the press box, and onto the field. Upgrade to the VIP package and get special access to the band center and the Ohio State home locker room. From corporate outings and school groups to single-person tours and small families, Ohio Stadium tours offer a variety of options and pricing. For more information, visit OhioStateBuckeyes.com and book your tour. Ohio Stadium Tours, presented by Experience Columbus.
Hey, Buckeye fans! As the official wing sponsor of Ohio State Athletics, Roosters is kicking off an incredible giveaway you won't want to miss. This football season, we're giving away 12 ultimate Buckeye experiences. 3 drawings, 12 winners with prizes including tickets, sideline passes, and 3 trips to a Buckeye first-round postseason game. Go to roosterswings.com to register and see all the details. 3 drawings, 12 amazing prizes. Register today and every day. Roosters, a fun, casual joint.
AEP Energy wants to know if you're ready to say goodbye to higher rates and hello to savings. Get your energy costs under control by locking in a fixed rate for your electricity supply. You'll lower your bills and get price protection from rising rates. Take control and lock in a low fixed rate. Visit aepenergy.com/OSU to get started. AEP Energy, the official electricity and natural gas sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. AEP Energy is a competitive retail electrical and natural gas service provider and affiliate of Ohio Power Company, AEP Ohio. AEP Energy is not soliciting on behalf of and is not an agent of AEP Ohio.
Buckeye football lives here. The Fan. This is the Ohio State Sports Network, presented by the Ohio State Wexner Medical Center, the team physicians for Ohio State Athletics.
Buckeyes are known for paying it forward. That's why Buckeyes Care strives to serve the betterment of our community by positively impacting families across Ohio. Join American Electric Power, Donato's, Kroger, the Ohio State Wexner Medical Center, the James Cancer Hospital, Huntington Bank, and WBNS TV in Columbus in supporting this cause at ohiostatebuckeyes.com/BuckeyesCare. And welcome back to our show this week as Ohio State gets ready to host Penn State. And we have a chance to talk for a few minutes with defensive lineman Kaden McDonald. Thank you for coming out to speak with us. What do you recall about that goal line stand at Penn State last year, Kaden?
That was the moment, I made a name for myself. And, this game for me is a really big game for me. And, I'm going to take full 100% effort.
You have you worked with Tyleik Williams last year, Ty Hamilton, and kind of rotated in with those guys, and now you're the guy, and you got some other guys kind of rotating in with you. But just kind of go through that. You're behind the two great players, and now you're the guy. And you got some other guys that are behind you. That transformation that you have to go through. It wasn't a hard transformation. Having those guys, the older guys, they help me and the younger guys to get ready for this moment. And for me now, being like a junior, and I'm all in and I'm ready to make this opportunity.
And you got a group of guys out there that you've played a lot with. What's that like to kind of have everything in sync with all of those guys that you are on the line with?
I feel like having loyalty is a big thing, and trust. And I've been with those guys for like 2 to 3 years. Caden Curry and KJ. Them being older, but, we have a really good brotherhood, and that's what we live on.
What's it like playing for under Coach Johnson? He's developed so many great linemen throughout the years, and that hasn't changed. He continues to do that. Just a day in, day out, you get to spend a lot of time with him and learn from one of the best.
Well, he gives me that old school new feeling. He does a good job adapting to, every year, figuring out the weaknesses and getting better at them. But Coach Johnson, he's been really good for us this season, and we're going to keep building.
And what's it also been like on the same subject with Coach Patricia now in his first year here?
Oh, yeah, I call him, he's not my defensive coordinator. I call him my mental coach. He helps me with stuff off the field, and everything on the field is already taken care of.
What's it like playing with a guy like Arvell Reese, who's really come on this year? Sonny's been around for a while. Arvell, I think we all saw it out of him, when he got chances last year, but this year's just been totally different. See him, sometimes he gets up there in the A-gap too. You guys working next to each other, that's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, him, Arvell Reese, his first year really just letting him play how he played. I mean, you see it every week he's getting better, and that's really what matters.
Caden, the last game at Wisconsin, when a lot of the backups were in there in the fourth quarter, it had to be something to see you guys cheering for them to keep that shutout intact.
Oh, yeah, just having unbridled spirit. Coach Johnson always tells us, and for me, I want to set the tone for the whole team. So me having the energy and just sharing it with all my other teammates, it just brings everybody up.
When you're in practice, you get to go against a guy like Carson Hintzman a lot, and, Luke Montgomery and Tegra and Josh. What is that like working against those guys every day in practice? And, I know that even though you're battling, there's a friendship and a respect that you each have for each other.
Well, we're at Ohio State, and, I'm not going to practice or play against anybody better than Carson, Tegra, Austin, Luke, Phillip. I'm not going to play against anybody better. So every practice, come in and prepare every day, and the results are going to show on Saturday.
When you think about all of the guys that you've played with and that you're continuing to play with, how does that help as far as the familiarity with one another? Especially like Jim asked about Arvell Reese, but also the guys on the back end.
Really, just having that trust system, you doing your job. You don't got to press for plays, to let the plays come to you. And we do a really good job doing film and working together in practice and working hard on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and really just putting the day in.
What's it like for you to play at home? I know you playing on the road sometimes it's all right because you guys can quiet a stadium, and that's a fun thing too. But playing at home when it's loud, it gets really loud, and you got to love that.
Yeah, Buckeye Nation. Having it's like a family here, and Columbus has been really well to me, and the fans is great. And my goal is really to focus on repeating for a national championship, and everything else going to take care of itself. But having Buckeye Nation has been really good, and having 100K fans, think any more of it.
Conversely, what's it like to quiet the crowds when you're on the road?
You know, I do like, it's all fake toughness, you know. But it's football, you know, it's my joy, and I love it, and I will never take it for granted.
What's your favorite part about playing? You know, do you like to play on the guard? Do you like to play in the gap? Do you like to play in the nose? Do you have a favorite position you like on the defensive line?
Wherever the best player is.
Is that what you want to go on?
Yeah, wherever the best player is.
What's your best move with that? Is it just you're getting your pads under his pads, getting some push, or getting on the edge?
Anything. I'm a power type of guy, and just getting your hands on them, and you know, shedding blocks, and I do a really good job.
Does it seem like it's been forever since you've had a home game, Kaden?
Yes. I'm tired of the flights, you know, jet lag and stuff, and you know, I just want to be at home, you know, get ready to play Penn State.
Well, we appreciate you coming out here and talk. Hopefully it wasn't a terrible experience for you to have to answer a few questions.
No, I'd love to hear. You know, I want to be a sports broadcaster. So.
Oh, do you?
Well, good.
Yeah.
You can take our jobs.
We'll have a discussion after we're done here. All right, Kaden, thank you very much, and all the best come Saturday.
Thank you.
All right, join us Saturday as Ohio State hosts Penn State. We'll be on the air with the AEP Energy Buckeye pregame show beginning at 10:30 a.m. The Ryan Day Show, presented by Roosters, has been brought to you statewide by Encova Insurance, by the American Dairy Association Mid-East. For Skip Mossick, Colin Behringer, Cole Bartemus, and for Jim Lachey, Coach Ryan Day, as well as Kaden McDonald, this is Paul Keels. Thanks for listening. This is the Ohio State Sports Network, presented by the Ohio State Wexner Medical Center, the team physician for Ohio State athletics.